Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Joshua Turk, and today we'll be talking about attrition and the factors that influence it in Fortune 100 companies. So to start off with, we're going to be taking a closer look at which jobs are actually seeing some high attrition. After that, we want to look at some job satisfaction scores and see if they're different depending on attrition or not. From there, we'll be looking at payment and building a model to predict monthly salary as best as we can. And then finally, we will be building a model to predict attrition itself. So here we can see each job role and the percentage of people leaving within that job role. Our top attrition rate here is going to be the sales representatives with a whole almost 45% attrition rate. Now that is almost double of what we see in the next highest one in human resources, where we're seeing a little above a 20% attrition rate. And then down here we have our directors and managers with pretty low attrition rates, managers being a little bit higher. So I don't think you have to worry too much about your directors, but I think definitely a lot of attention needs to be focused on the sales representatives. So now we want to take a look at job satisfaction. So here we can see a distribution of job satisfaction scores, separated by whether or not the person left due to attrition. Those that stayed have a bit more of a left skewed distribution, with a majority of the respondents being pretty satisfied with their job in this 3 and 4 range. Underneath that, we can see a much flatter distribution for the people that did leave. So these people don't seem to be as satisfied with their job. But to be certain, we did a 2-sample t-test and came to the conclusion that the mean job satisfaction scores for those who left are indeed lower than the scores of those who stayed. So here we have a little write-up here with a p-value of 0.001. There's enough evidence to suggest that the mean job satisfaction scores for those that left the company are different than those that stayed. And we are certain that those are less. For a more detailed analysis, please see the R Markdown file linked at the end of the presentation. So here we created a linear regression model to be able to predict monthly income. The model that we came out with uses job level, total working years, job role, and an interaction term for job level and job role to allow for different relationships within each job role. This model gave us an adjusted R-squared value of 0.953, meaning we're explaining about 95% of the variation in monthly income with our chosen model. Over here you can see all of our terms here, and as well our RMSE is 985.4127. In addition to this linear regression, we also ran a t-test on the monthly incomes of those that left the company versus those that didn't, see if there is any difference there. We did come out with a pretty strong conclusion here that the mean monthly income of those that left the company is indeed lower than that of those who stayed. So here we have our 95% confidence interval. That difference is between 2,654 and 1,220. And again, this is monthly income, so these are pretty big differences. So here we can see the count of attrition from the original data. We have our no's here and our yeses here, and as you can see, the no's vastly outweigh the yeses, creating an imbalanced data set. So in order to create the model, we want to upsample the data, which means randomly duplicating the observations that have this yes, this minority observation, in order to create a more balanced data set. This will allow us to balance our sensitivity and specificity so we can accurately predict both no's and yeses rather than only being able to predict the no's. However, we will proceed with some caution, as upsampling can lead to an overfitted model. Finally, here we have our predictive model for attrition. We ended up creating a KNN model, and that is giving us about a 65% accuracy, as well as a sensitivity and specificity. Because we upsampled our data in the last slide, That's allowed us to have this kind of balanced sensitivity and specificity, meaning that our rate of correctly guessing no's and rate of correctly guessing yeses is pretty much the same here, which is very good. And while this accuracy may seem on the lower side, being able to even somewhat correctly guess whether or not an employee might leave is very helpful, because it allows you to focus your time and efforts on the really risky scenarios rather than focusing it across the board on people who, aren't at risk of leaving. And finally, that brings us to the end of this presentation. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope I was able to provide some useful information. Please email me any questions you might have, and for a more detailed analysis, please see my GitHub page linked here.